Your dog is talking to you right now. Not with sounds, not with their eyes, with the thing you walk past 100 times a day without reading. Their tail. You have looked at that tail your entire life together and you have seen one thing. Up means happy, down means scared. That is not wrong. But it is less than 10% of the conversation. There are 9 distinct tail positions, and each one is a sentence your dog is saying directly to you. Most owners have never heard a single one of them. Number 1 on this list will change the way you feel about every quiet moment you and your dog have ever shared. And number 9 is the one that most people see every single day and get completely backwards. Let's begin. Welcome to PAW'S Mind. If you are new here, subscribe right now because this channel goes deeper into what your dog is actually thinking and feeling than anything you have encountered before. There are 9 tail positions to cover. We are going from 9 down to 1. Each one is a specific emotional state your dog is broadcasting in real time. Number 1 is the deepest. I will tease it before we get there, but you have to earn it. Let's start with the one most people have already misread today. Sign 9, the slow wag at half-mast. Why does your dog wag slowly, tail held at a neutral height, when you walk into the room? Most owners see any wag and read it as happiness. They are reading the wrong signal entirely. Here is what is actually happening. A slow, measured wag at mid-level is not joy. Animal behaviorists classify this as an assessment wag. The dog is processing information about who or what just entered their space. They are not yet sure how to feel. They are running a scan. The tail is not saying, I am glad you are here. The tail is saying, I am figuring out whether I should be glad you are here. Research published in the journal Animal Cognition found that dogs modulate their tail movement speed and height based on their emotional certainty about a stimulus. The faster and higher the wag, the more certain the positive emotion. A slow, neutral wag signals cognitive engagement, not affection. What this means for your bond. When your dog slow wags at you, they are paying attention. That is actually a gift. They are not ignoring you. They are reading you. And what they read next will determine whether the tail goes up or down. But the slow wag is just the beginning, because the direction of that wag tells a completely different story. Keep watching because the next one has only been understood by science in the last decade. Sign 8, the right-biased wag. Why does it matter which way your dog's tail swings? Most owners have never thought to look. They see wagging and stop there. But the direction of the wag is neurologically meaningful in a way that changes everything. Here is the science. A landmark study published in Current Biology found that the direction of a dog's tail bias during a wag maps directly to which hemisphere of the brain is dominant in that moment. A right-biased wag, heavier movement to the dog's right, activates the left hemisphere, which is associated with positive approach emotions, calm, and social affiliation. A left-biased wag activates the right hemisphere, which governs withdrawal and negative emotional states. Other dogs respond to this difference automatically. When they see a left-biased wag in another dog, their own heart rate increases. When they see a right-biased wag, they relax. The body language communicates stress or safety at a level that bypasses conscious processing. What this means for your bond. When your dog wags right heavy toward you, their brain is in the same state as when they are greeting a trusted companion. When the wag drifts left, even if the tail is moving, something uncomfortable is being registered. The wag does not lie, even when it looks friendly. And remember, I promised you number 1. That is the position that reveals the most intimate thing your dog has ever tried to communicate to you. We are getting there. Stay with me. Sign 7, the tuck tail in a safe environment. Why does your dog sometimes tuck their tail even when nothing is wrong? Most owners see the tuck tail and think, my dog is scared. Sometimes that is correct. But context changes everything. Here is what is actually happening when the tuck appears inside your home, with no strangers present, no loud noises, no obvious threat. A tail tucked tightly between the legs in a familiar, safe environment is not always fear of an external threat. It is often a learned suppression response. Behavioral researchers at the University of Bristol documented that dogs who had received repeated punishment, especially punishment with no clear communication, develop a resting tuck posture that persists even when no threat is present. The nervous system has been trained to brace. This is the tuck that breaks owners when they finally understand it. Their dog is not scared of the storm. Their dog is scared of the unpredictability of the world, and possibly of them. What this means for your bond. If your dog carries their tail low or tucked in environments where they should feel safe, their nervous system is not at rest. The home does not feel safe yet. Not fully. That is not an indictment. It is information. And information is the beginning of change. The next tail position is one most people only see during play. What they miss is that it also appears at a much more important moment. Sign 6. The flag tail held high and stiff. Why does your dog sometimes carry their tail perfectly upright? Rigid, barely moving, almost like a flag. Most owners see this and think confidence. That reading is half right and half dangerous. Here is the distinction. A high, freely wagging tail signals excitement and positive arousal. A high, rigid, still tail is something else. Behavioral researchers classify this as an alert dominant posture. The dog is not happy. The dog is assessing a potential challenge. The tail flag is a display signal, the canine equivalent of standing up straight before a confrontation. Communicates, I am not afraid. I am large. I am watching. A study in applied animal behavior science found that dogs displaying high, stiff tail carriage in the presence of unfamiliar dogs showed significantly higher rates of agonistic behavior in the following 30 seconds compared to dogs with neutral or low tail positions. The stiff flag is not the emotion before joy. It is the emotion before escalation. What this means for your bond. If your dog raises a rigid, unmoving tail when they meet a new dog or person, that is your cue to create distance and give them space to process. Not because something is wrong with your dog, because their nervous system is telling you exactly what it needs. And before we continue, remember what I promised at the start. Number 1 on this list is the tail position that happens when no one is watching. When your dog thinks they are alone. That one changes everything. Keep watching. Sign 5, the slow circular wag. Why do some dogs wag in a loose circular motion, a full-body helicopter spin of the tail, when they see someone they love? Most owners see this and enjoy it without ever asking why. The answer is one of the most beautiful pieces of canine biology in this entire list. Here is what is actually happening. The circular wag, sometimes called the helicopter tail, is only present in dogs who have formed a genuine secure attachment to the person in front of them. It is not a trained behavior. Cannot be conditioned. Research on canine attachment published in Applied Animal Behavior Science found that the circular wag appeared almost exclusively in dogs classified as securely attached to their primary caregiver, and was rarely observed toward strangers or even familiar non-attachment figures. The physiology behind it. Circular tail movement requires full relaxation of the muscles around the base of the tail and the haunches. A dog in any state of tension, uncertainty, or mild anxiety cannot produce it. The body will not allow it. The helicopter tail is biologically only available to a dog who has completely dropped their defenses. What this means for your bond. If your dog helicopter wags when they see you, their nervous system is doing something it only does in the presence of complete safety. You are not just a good owner. In the language of their nervous system, you are home. Sign 4, the tucked tail that tightens when you approach. Why does your dog's tail tuck or drop specifically when you reach toward them, even if they have been relaxed a moment before? Most owners assume the dog is being sensitive or dramatic. They reach anyway. They are missing a direct message. Here is what is actually happening. The tail registers emotional state faster than almost any other part of the body. It responds before the dog makes a conscious decision, before the growl, before the freeze, before any behavioral response the owner would recognize as a warning. A tail that drops or tucks specifically in response to your approach is the body's first honest signal. This feels threatening right now. Animal behaviorists document this as pre-conflict signaling. The dog is not yet reacting. They are forecasting. A study from the journal Veterinary Record found that in reported bite incidents involving familiar owners, retrospective analysis of video footage consistently showed tail depression in the seconds before the bite. In cases where no growl or other visible warning had been noted by the owner, the tail was speaking. No one was listening. What this means for your bond. A tail that reliably drops when you reach toward your dog is not a personality quirk. It is a gap in the trust between you. Not a permanent one, but one that deserves honest attention, not because you are a bad owner, but because your dog is handing you the exact information you need to repair it. Sign 3, the tail that pauses mid-wag. Why does your dog sometimes stop mid-wag? Tail suddenly frozen in the up position, not moving, then resume. Most owners do not even notice this. It lasts less than a second. It is one of the most important signals in this entire list. Here is what is actually happening. The mid-wag freeze is called a behavioral interrupt, and it corresponds to a rapid shift in emotional processing. The dog detected something, a sound, a smell, a visual stimulus, that temporarily overrode the emotional state they were in. The tail freeze is the external signature of the brain switching tracks. It is not dangerous on its own, but it is informative. Behavioral researchers studying canine arousal cycles have noted that repeated micro-freezes during otherwise positive interactions often indicate an environment that is slightly above the dog's optimal arousal threshold. The dog is managing competing inputs. They are happy, but they are also working. What this means for your bond. If your dog frequently freezes mid-wag around other people, animals, or in busy environments, they are not being antisocial. They are processing more than they can smoothly integrate. What they need from you in those moments is not redirection. It is space. 2 steps back and a slower pace will do more for their confidence than any command. And we are almost at number 1. I told you at the beginning that this final position is the one that happens when your dog thinks no one is watching. When there is no performance, no greeting, no request. Just your dog and whatever they carry inside them when the world goes quiet. We are there now. Sign 2, the tail that wags only at you. Why does your dog wag differently? Higher, faster, softer. When they see you compared to anyone else in your household. Most owners have noticed this without naming it. Some feel slightly guilty about it if they live with other people. They should not. Here is what is actually happening. Dogs form primary attachment bonds that function neurologically like the secure base attachments infants form with primary caregivers. Research from the János Loránd University in Budapest confirmed through heart rate and behavioral monitoring that dogs have a distinctly different physiological response to their primary attachment person versus other familiar humans. The tail is part of that response system. It does not perform the same movement for everyone. Cannot. The emotion behind the movement is different. When your dog's tail rises a centimeter higher and moves a fraction faster at the sight of you, only you, that is not favoritism. That is their nervous system recognizing the one variable that makes everything feel safe. What this means for your bond. That wag is not a greeting. It is a measurement. And what it is measuring every single time is the distance between where they were and where you are. They are covering that distance with everything they have. Sign 1. The tail that moves when you are not looking. This is the one I have been holding back. Picture your dog lying in another room. The house is quiet. You are not calling them, not feeding them, not walking toward them. You are just there, present somewhere in the house, living your life. And your dog, without a single trigger, without any cue from you, slowly begins to wag their tail. Not because something happened, because you exist nearby. A study in the journal PAW'S that monitored resting dogs using motion capture technology found that bonded dogs produce low-frequency spontaneous tail movements during periods of owner proximity, even when no interaction was occurring and the dog appeared to be resting or sleeping. The researchers described these movements as what they called ambient attachment responses. The bonded human did not need to do anything. Simply being present in the same space was enough to activate the emotion. Here is what no one ever told you about that quiet, spontaneous wag. Your dog does not wag their tail to communicate with you in that moment. They wag it because they cannot help it. Because something in their body starts moving when you are near, even when there is nothing to ask for, nothing to celebrate, no greeting to perform. The wag is not for you. It is the physical signature of what you mean to them when no one is performing anything. Most owners will never see this. It happens too quietly, too privately, in moments when you are not watching. But it is happening. Every day. In the still moments when your dog lies in the other room and feels, without words, without reason, without anything required from you, that the world is okay because you are in it. So the next time you walk past your dog when they are resting and you notice the faintest movement at the base of their tail, a single slow sweep barely visible, know what you are actually witnessing. That is not a reflex. That is not a twitch. That is your dog's body making a confession it never planned to make out loud. It is telling you, in the only language it has, that you are the reason for the warmth they carry around all day. Not what you do. Not what you provide. You. That tail has been saying it your whole life together. Now you know how to read it. Every tail position you learn today is a sentence your dog has been saying since the day they came home. You just learned how to read the whole paragraph. Share this with someone whose dog deserves to be understood. Subscribe to PAW'S Mind. We go deep on what dogs are actually thinking and feeling every single week. And before you go, if your dog stares at you for no reason and looks away the moment you notice, there is a reason for that exact behavior, and it goes deeper than curiosity. That video is next.